is having the ovary with the structure that you can easily say that this is the corpus luteum. This is the corpus luteum of 5th, 6th or 7th day of the cycle. It is the corpus luteum of 5th, 6th or 7th day of the cycle. When I say 5th, that it is the late metestrus, or if it is the 6th or 7th day, it is the corpus luteum of early diestrus. Why I am not saying it as the corpus hemorrhagicum of the very first 1, 2 or 3 days? Why? Because the animal is having a well developed, you can say, crown, and there is certain height on the ovary, plus that usually we look for in case of corpus hemorrhagicum, that should be deeper one. The cavity should be deeper one. So the cavity is somewhat filled with the luteal cells. Okay, so this one is the, you can say, having some kind of the height on the ovary, plus the texture. The texture is bit softer. Okay, the texture of this corpus luteum is somewhat liver-like or softer. So softer texture and size as compared to the fully developed corpus luteum is, you can say, somewhat smaller than the fully developed corpus luteum. So this one is the corpus luteum of the 5th, 6th or 7th day of the cycle. We can say that this is the functional corpus luteum. When I say functional corpus luteum, it means that it is producing the sufficient amount of progesterone, plus it is, you can say, now having the capacity to bind with the PGF2 alpha if you are going to administer exogenously. So it has capacity, it is having the receptors to bind with the PGF2 alpha and go under the process of luteolysis if you are going to administer PGF2 alpha at this time. Why? For example, if this cow just have the history of the PGF2 alpha, prostaglandin F2 alpha, that is the luteolytic agent, normally it is being produced from the endometrium at the 16th day of the cycle in a non-pregnant cow or the buffalo. But in such case, if you want to induce estrus, you are not going to wait for the nature. Naturally, this PGF2 alpha will come in the non-pregnant animal at day 16th of the cycle, and you have the obvious history. This animal was in heat 5 or 7 days ago, but there is no history of breeding, and now the farmer want to make the animal come into the estrus earlier than the 16th or 17th day of the cycle. So at this time, this is the best time when you can administer PGF2 alpha intramuscularly, exogenously. Animal will come into the heat within 2 or 3 days. The ovary of this animal, this is the ideal, you can say, fully developed corpus luteum. Okay? It is not softer as much that this was the softer one, but this is somewhat, you can say, meat-like. It is the meat-like. Okay, so texture is somewhat, you can say, softer in this case, but this is somewhat meat-like. Okay, so this is having the fully developed crown. You can look at the, you can say, diameter of the crown. It is broader as compared to this corpus luteum. It is broader. Plus the crown is somewhat softer here, but it is meat-like over here. Okay, so this is having certain height from the ovary, the well-developed neck and the well-developed crown. So this is the corpus, fully developed corpus luteum, and it is of, you can simply say, 10th to 12th day of the cycle. This much size of the corpus luteum you can observe in the at the 10th or 12th day of the cycle. This is the fully developed. This animal, on the left of this animal, you just can observe this corpus luteum is having almost the size that is somewhat equal to this corpus luteum if we talk about the height. But if you look at the crown, this is the broader one, and now the crown is just going towards shrinking. And you know that the regressing corpus luteum is somewhat getting conical. Okay, why? Because the corpus luteum fully developed is having the broader crown, but when it is in the process of the regression, the crown is somewhat, you can say, getting smaller size or shrink, that is giving the shape of a papilla to the regressing corpus luteum on the ovary, or somewhat conical. Okay, so this is the corpus luteum of the late diestrus, or you can easily say this is the corpus luteum of 15th to 17th day of the cycle. In clinics we have margin for 1 or 2 days, particularly when we talk about the luteal corpus luteum of the 15th to 17th day of the cycle, and it is, you can say, the regressing corpus luteum. Okay, if you have observed such corpus luteum and you have observed a fully developed follicle on the ovary, or you can say the medium sized follicle or the follicle, that is not true. There is no palpable follicle on any of the ovary, but only the palpable corpus luteum, and that is having the texture that is somewhat firm. This texture is somewhat firm. It is not no more, you can say, softer, no more like liver, no more like meat. It is somewhat firm. Okay, plus the shape is somewhat getting conical. Okay. Okay, so at this time, if you have observed such corpus luteum with the palpable follicle, then you can say with more confidence the animal is in proestrus. The animal is in proestrus. But if you are not able to palpate a dominant follicle on the ovary, at this time you can just say that this is the animal that is somewhere between the 15th to 17th day of the cycle. Clear? Okay. If we talk about, okay, this is we can talk about this also. This animal is having again a corpus luteum that is firm, plus the crown is no more, you can say, round or fully developed. You can easily look at this. So the texture is firm. Again, this is the regressing corpus luteum. So to me, the both animals are almost at the same day of the cycle. They both are between 15th to 7th day of the cycle. But you can just compare the difference in the size. So this is, you can say, the biological difference within the same species. You can say that within the same group of the animal, someone of the animal is having the larger corpus luteum if we compare with the size at 12th day of the cycle, but the other cow having the same texture of the corpus luteum at 12th day of the cycle, but it is somewhat smaller than the other one. So we just have to look for the texture and shape. Texture and shape. Okay. So this is the again 15th to 17th day of the cycle. If we can palpate along with this size of the corpus luteum, well-developed follicle, then we say that this animal is in proestrus and is in the follicular phase. So again, just have a look at these 4 tracks. This is entirely the diestrus. This is actually the entirely luteal phase. This is the entirely luteal phase. This can be the early diestrus, that is 5th to 7th day of the cycle. Okay, that this is the early diestrus, and this is the, you can say, developing corpus luteum or the functional corpus luteum, minimum at 5th or 7th day. If we talk about this corpus luteum, it is of the mid diestrus or mid cycle, and these are the corpus luteum of the late diestrus. So this is the entirely, you can say, the complete luteal phase. Okay.